Hey, welcome everyone. I am Todd Bookspan, the founder of Win by Noon, and I'm so excited to have you here for another Monday Win by Noon webinar, where every Monday we get together to share some exciting idea on how to be more productive, some exciting interview with someone on how to be a little more efficient in your business, and lots and lots of random thoughts. And I'm excited to be joined by my regular co-host, none other than Deborah Byrd from Plug and Play SM. Welcome, Deborah.
I think we forgot to give Roberta the hat day memo.
No, that is true. That is true. We didn't give our special guest the memo that we would be wearing hats. I'm like all Win by Noon out today, but you know, it's
you'll like this is my shirt for today. It says billing you for this conversation.
I like that. That's probably true. Your conversations are all worth lots of money. And I'm sure everyone here can relate to that. We've all had those conversations with people where we're like, you know what, that person really owes me a lot for that. And I feel like, you know, it's one of the beautiful things about our communities that we have. And you know, you're such a giving soul, Deborah, and you share so much knowledge and value. I always feel like, that's why I always say to take action after these calls, right? You know, you all know that because I feel like you've gotten so much value. It's not free because you gave your time to either be here and watch it live, or you gave your time to watch it in a recording. So it's not free to you, but ultimately you're not paying Deborah a check or myself. So take that advice and do something with it. So many of you know that last month I did how to complete your monthly review. And I asked on the call if that maybe someday we'd have someone who's crazy enough to volunteer to be put in the hot seat. And my good friend Roberta Pulse said she would do it. So here she is, and she is going to walk us through. I'm going to interview her along with Deborah about weekly reviews. But real quick, Roberta, thank you for being here, number one.
I have a chamber hat.
Oh, look at that. Now she got a hat. Look at that. You are fast. Look at that. She's on a roll. So real quick, why don't you introduce yourself, Roberta? Tell people what you do, where you work, anything that you think would be great for our crew to hear about you.
Oh, sure. Roberta Pulse. I'm a loan officer with Cherry Creek Mortgage. I've actually been a loan officer for a very long time. Out of high school, I actually worked for 7-Eleven, my most favorite job, but we kept getting robbed. So I went to California Federal and I've been a loan officer ever since.
So that's crazy. So 7-Eleven trained you to be a loan officer. That is perfect.
Yes, they did.
Anyway. You know what? It's funny that you worked at 7-Eleven and you loved that job, because I worked retail. I think a lot of people know I owned bicycle stores for 10 years, and I loved retail. I loved the people so much so that when I was getting my MBA at night during the first holiday season that I was in Phoenix and quote unquote unemployed, just taking care of my kids, I had this great idea. I was going to go work at the Gap over the holidays. And my wife was really annoyed that I wanted to do it, but I just wanted to get and talk to more people. But they had a fight over me. The manager at the Gap and the manager at the Baby Gap were fighting over who was going to get me to be their employee. And then there was a family situation. I ended up having to take care of my nephews. So I opted out of my Gap job before I ever got it. But I love that you love that. What about you, Deborah? Did you ever work retail?
I never worked retail.
All right. But you taught school. So that's kind of like, you know, working retail.
I lined soccer fields I started at age 12 and I would line soccer games. And then I worked for dry cleaners. And then I worked for my brother's pool business where I was his first employee. I guess, I mean, is that considered retail kind of? I mean, I would help people select their, you know, basically building a backyard oasis until I then got into teaching.
Awesome. Well, all right. Well, you know, we'll give you the benefit of the doubt that you like talking to people.
Yes.
I think that's good. I think that's good. So let me frame the weekly review. So for those of you, I'm assuming that most of you here who are watching are Win by Noon users, but you don't have to be a Win by Noon user to do a monthly review. Sorry, to do a monthly review. And I think, you know, those of you who know my passion around planning starts with looking in the rearview mirror, right? You can't rewind the clock. I always say you can't change what you've done, but I can promise you'll learn more from what you've done in the past than you'll ever imagine. And it's that whole idea that success leaves clues, and maybe you don't view your past week, month, day, year as success, but guess what? It was. There was something great you did in there. And what I love about the reviews is it's not a time to beat up on yourself. It's actually a time to celebrate the victories. It's a time to look for opportunities of improvement. And it's the time to make commitments going forward. And so in Win by Noon, we've got this form that it walks you through. And I would say there's a couple of parts of it. So for those of you who haven't seen it before, and I guess if I was really prepared, maybe what I'll do is I will, let me see how fast I can pull one up. I bet I can if I'm really amazing. I'm not that necessarily that amazing, but let's just look here and see if I can find a PDF of it to pull up while we're sitting
You're
here.
saying weekly review, not monthly review. Is that right?
I'm supposed to say monthly review. I want to do a monthly. We're doing monthly review because we got a monthly review at the end of it. So if I said weekly, then I confused everyone. I apologize. But I'm going to pull it up right now. I got the PDF. I'm getting ready to open it up so I can show you what the monthly review looks like. And because I think it'll be helpful for you to be able to see it, and I can show it to you in a. Here we go. Here we go, people. And then we're going to walk Roberta through hers, and she's going to wow us with her amazingness. And all right, so here's the Win by Noon monthly review. This is a loan officer monthly review, I believe. So you'll kind of see here, it's got a couple of things. I'm in front of my glasses. One is you'll see it's got a weekly review because you're at the end of the month, you have a week. And so on the top left, you see the weekly review. So you're rating yourself how you did on a scale of 1 to 5. And then I love the fact it's got this week I totally crushed, new opportunities and ideas, and then roadblocks and barriers. And, again, it's great to look back and see what you learned. And so for me, oftentimes a lot of what I crushed was like I had, this last week I went to a music festival, which is so unlike me. I took my daughter on a date night, which was great. We were long overdue for it. So it's also a time for me to celebrate my personal victories as well as what I've done in business. And then you'll notice when you get to the monthly review, the cool part of the conversion rates down at the bottom, and there's a couple of pre-done ones as well as some blanks. And then more importantly, shift over to the right side of the page and you're going to see it's really looking at my habits of success. How am I doing on my business plan for the year? And then this whole idea of a KISS, right? Keep, improve, start, stop. And so that's really what it looks like and what it's all about. Any thoughts on that, Deborah? Something that you think I should point out before we just start walking through Roberta's?
No, other than I think the most powerful part is don't use this to beat yourself up. I think I don't know if there's resistance with tracking because it can expose gaps, but I like that you pointed out, the celebrations, which the music festival and the date with your kid, it's important to acknowledge those things and celebrate the wins too, even if they're small wins.
Yeah, I totally agree. And did I lose my screen share got paused for a sec. I don't know why, but that's all right. I can bring it back. All right, Roberta, pop in. This call's all about you.
That at the end of the month, it also goes with the beginning of next month. Recording everything that I was really good at or I gained, and then what I'm doing, on the calendar for next month. I just think that's, for me, that's very important.
Well, and I love that.
Some days I had to call 72 people.
Wow.
But you know what? What I learned from Win by Noon, first of all, was I get up and my deal is to do it by noon. But it was tough getting started. I don't know, I lost my rhythm. So I started out calling family. I have a lot of family and nieces and nephews and their friends, asking for business. And then I moved on to realtors and then to banks and attorneys. But I have a lot of calls.
Well, that's good. I like that. And of course, I love that you're going to do it by noon. So kind of walk me through, because I think there's no perfect way to do any of it. So when you sat down to do your monthly review, tell me kind of how did you walk through it? What did that look like?
For me, I don't concentrate on how many calls I made. I concentrate on how many wins, how many new clients I was able to get. Even the ones that aren't ready yet, I take them as a true win. And I have some that are out there trying to find a home. So for me, when I go through this, I'm recording the wins. So I don't know that I do it right. That's what I do.
however you do it is the right way. Like that's like I said, because I always laugh. Every once in a while, I'll go to a conference and someone will be like, I'm going to sit next to the Win by Noon guy and see how he fills out his planner. And I think the first thing that they're shocked by is, number one, that it's a wreck, because, you know, I carry it around. Mine gets more beat up than most I see. And my writing is terrible. And then I think they're shocked that I don't use 100% of everything. I use probably 95% of everything, because I designed about 95% of it for me, or maybe 90% of it for me. And then the other 5 to 10% has been things I've added for all of you users. You all have given me, hey, I would love this change. This would be good. And there are things that have stuck in the planner, but transparently, I don't necessarily use it. Just because it's in there and someone else thought it was a good idea doesn't mean it has to work for me. So I say that so that all of you can feel just like Roberta. Hey, don't worry whether using it right or wrong. However you use it is right, as long as, in my mind, A, you're using it, and B, you're learning from, you know, what you do. And I really do love, Roberta, that you say that your wins are a client, whether they're ready to go today or not. That speaks of your heart, and then certainly says how you've been in this industry for however long. You didn't say how long, and you don't need to tell me, but for quite a while, which I love and respect.
And one of the passions that I have now that I've turned older is mortgages for older people. And I'll tell you, it's really a whole new world out there calling people. So that's what I have started really concentrating on the beginning of last year. I can't believe the difference it made. And I wanted people to understand that, like I said, some days I had to call a lot, and I keep calling till I have a deal. So sometimes I'm not done by noon, I'm done by 2. And I have to hurry up because maybe I have an appointment at 3. I got to get to calling more people, but I just keep going, and then I work on that deal. So, you know.
Roberta, how long have you been using the planner?
I think, I'm embarrassed to say, about 3 years. I did not use the planner for almost a half a year. And do you know, that's what happened to my rhythm. So Todd's right. I don't use maybe everything that this awesome planner has to offer, but what it does allow me is to open up the day that I've already started, you know, recording from the day before. But it has a place for notes. It has a place for me to put down what's important, including today. Don't forget to buy dog food. You know, there's certain things I have to do. And then people I've called, appointments I had this morning. It's really, it works good for me to keep track of what I'm doing. And at the end of the day on Friday, I look back at what I did or didn't do. You know, maybe I had a killer last March, and I wanted to know what I did that worked. And I go through my planner and the calls I made, the things I did. That's what I have, a whole shelf. So maybe it's been more than 3 years, but randomly I'll pull them out and look at that quarter and see what I did. So.
You know, Todd, that just reminds me, we need, instead of a cost of waiting TCA, it's the cost of implementing your Win by Noon planner.
Yeah, absolutely.
What does that cost?
You know, it is interesting, and I mean this out of all kindness, and so there's never any judgment or criticism when I say it. There's so many people that I talk to who tell me, oh yeah, I've subscribed for a year and I just haven't. Sometimes they like haven't even opened it and used it. I've got others that I'm just not using it like I should use it, or not really working on it that hard. And then it is amazing, man, how many people say, gosh, I used it, I'm crushing it. And then I just went on vacation, got sick, got out of the habit, and now I've gotten back in, and what a difference it's made. And I always love those stories, and people hesitate to tell me those stories because they're embarrassed by falling out of it. And I just tell people, hey, don't worry about it. Just, you know, forgive yourself and jump back in, because a life of productivity and efficiency is awesome, especially for Roberta's dog, because she's not going to forget the dog food now.
Well, what I love that you said there, Todd, and I'm guilty, and hopefully there's other people on this call who, you know, I'm kind of a perfectionist to an extreme. I like being like, I love taking notes. I don't like to have errors in my notes. I use pictures. And when I was ill in October, I was so upset that I had a few blanks because I was in the hospital and I couldn't have my perfect planner, and I would get so caught up in the perfection. And, it goes back to you saying that there's no perfect way. And the fact that you maybe use 95% of it, I would allow myself to feel pressure when I shouldn't have. And so there's anyone else on the call who may have that same pressure, and maybe, it shows up in other areas of my life, but allow what Todd just said, who's the founder of Win by Noon, to give you permission to release that expectation that there is one way to approach it. There's not one way, clearly, and it doesn't have to be 100% filled out. And even if you have a few days that you miss just because you were sick, it's okay to have a few blank pages, just turn them over and get to the day that you're on. So that was my biggest struggle in the beginning when adopting the discipline and using the planners, the perfectionism that I would get caught up in.
Yeah, I think it's so hard. And it's funny because I do have, white out but I don't white out very much. I really white stuff out more just on my calendar because I like my calendar for the week to look good, so you guys all know for me, like my favorite thing is my, the week ahead action plan. Like, to me, I live off of the week ahead action plan. And it sounds like, Roberta, you do a pretty good job of looking forward at your week as well. Is that?
Yes, and
sounds like that's pretty accurate.
Month, I'm what certain things I'm going to do for the month, maybe events I'm going to attend or whatever. So I have it all at the beginning of the month, starting tomorrow, new month, new goals.
It's funny too.
This week.
Because I use the pull-out calendar for that, and mine is just got updated because I had my my daughter draw in like all of our family's birthdays and stuff. It's a family affair. She made my wife a calendar too, but it's got all of our stuff. And as what's what I love about coming out of this quiet time, I call it, of not traveling, the fact that there's a bunch of events coming up that I'll be traveling to and speaking again, and it makes me very excited more fun to use the calendar and look ahead when you have things going on. That's for sure.
Mm-hmm. So where do you start, Roberta? Do you do like the big blocks first that, like kind of like what Todd said? Do you start with maybe birthdays? Do you use it for personal? Do you just put business stuff on there? Like, how do you reverse engineer the next month based off reviewing?
This one, for my Win by Noon, I use it. I start at the calendar, and these are my events, like the Bettendorf Business Network, the Chamber, coffee meetup. It's a new group where all kinds of business people go to, the affiliates for the realtors. It's all business stuff. These are all preset events that are going on for the month. And then I take a look back and see where, I've got some gaps where there's no events, and maybe I use those gaps to set up some realtors appointments, but I have to make sure that they're done, 11 o'clock on the Win by Noon, but my absolute cutoff is 11. You can't see me before 11, but you can talk to me. No.
So that's a pretty good standard to have. So I've heard you say at least 2 standards, right? So you all know I'm really big on the word standards. Like, you have to set a standard that you're going to commit to. So number one, is you just said, I'm not going to meet with anyone in person before 11 a.m. And so I applaud you for that, because I feel like so many of us, regardless of what type of sales role we're in, if someone says, can you meet me at 9? We say yes, when it may not be the best, it's probably not the only time they can meet, but more importantly, it's typically our most effective time to get our proactive activities done. And then the other one that I love that you said is that I keep dialing until I get a deal. And so if I heard you correctly, your goal is really, it sounds like, one loan application every single day.
Yes. And like I said, it may be just a pre-approval, and then I'm going to follow up with them every month because they're not ready. But yes. And the next section, I never use this because I don't quite get it. Todd.
Which section is that? Since we can't, you're kind of blurry there because you got your fake
Oh, I'm
background on. So
sorry.
unless you put it right in front of you, we can't see it. But if you just want to tell us which section it is, that'll be helpful.
The week ahead.
Got it.
There you go.
Yep. So you're talking about the weekends. Let me share my screen and I'll pull that one up if I got it correct. So that way our viewing audience knows what we are talking about. Let me see. My computer's having all sorts of troubles because it's rendering a video, which was poor timing for me to do that. Because it's rendering a video from my group coaching program. Let's see here. All right. It does not want to show me what I'm trying to look at. So let me try. So, but you're talking about the section where I can kind of say, well, so it's got the week ahead action plan. So really it's got two things. So let me show you all. Let me see if I can't get there. Hang on. Let me try one more time. Share my screen. Because that's always good. Anytime someone has a question for me, then it's helpful for me to be able to explain. All right. Now I've got it. Let's see if we can see it. Okay. Can you guys see that?
It just says Todd Bookspan.
Is it showing
It's black. Oh, there we go.
is it coming on now?
No, it's solid black.
That looks really exciting, I'm sure.
Oh, there we
Okay.
go.
Oh, there
it
it
is.
is. Yes, this is it. Oh,
I see it on mine. It's just apparently my computer's slow. I got it doing too much. So again, lesson learned. This is what you guys all should love about me is I'll tell you what I did wrong that I shouldn't be doing while I'm doing this. Multitasking. So down below, so what Roberta's talking about, she likes to write out her month ahead big blocks, as I would call them, right? So for me, it shows, this was last month, but it shows, like I just put in there, I'm going to Amplify in 2 weeks, and I'm going to California for spring break with my family. And then my other daughter's flying home for her spring break. So I've got all those things not only on my calendar, but I've got them color coded with my highlighters. So I'm very excited about that. And then down below is the week ahead action plan. And these are your commitments for your weekly activities, right? So this is where, whether you're a real estate agent or a loan officer who's using the planner, you would write down, hey, these are the calls I'm committing to make this week. On the left side is the action activities. And then on the right side where it says weekly results goals, that's how many leads, applications, pre-qualification you set for yourself as a goal. And so really it's just write down your goals. And then we've got our weekly quote, which you all know that Deborah makes me do it. It's on my calendar. If I show you my calendar, you would notice that it is on my calendar. I'm teaching a class to financial advisors after this. So,
Wow.
I know I'm teaching a class to financial advisors, but I have it on after that class is done. It's in my calendar here. It says weekly quotes. You guys can't see it because it's not showing up good, but I'll get my weekly quote. And then again, habits of success. On time is time working on your business, not in your business, right? Social media, how many posts or hours are you committed? I like the hours on there because that's for those of you who might spend a little too much time on there. But for those of you who have an accountability partner, like I do with Deborah Byrd at Plug and Play SM, that's how many posts I'm committed to make a week. And then HW notes, handwritten notes. And then the very bottom part is your project planner if you're using it to track your projects. And again, this is an area where we added that in and people love to use it. For me, I use a separate notebook for my projects because I've got too many going on at one time. But I will use this occasionally if I've got a one project that's top of mind that I'm really focused on. It'll go in here. But for me, you might imagine that some of my projects are a little more complex than in the olden days. And then over to the right is your week ahead action plan. And again, I showed you guys mine a minute ago. And what I would tell you on that is I literally fill it out every week because, well, here you go. So here's my monthly one. So again, you can see it's all color coded, right? Vacation, going to Vegas for Amplify, my other daughter's spring break. So I've got that on there. I'm going to a show at Gamage, which is our local Broadway thing. I'm seeing Tootsie in case you guys care. And then I'm going to go see the Suns play my second favorite team, the Philadelphia 76ers, with my brothers. So I've got all those fun things planned on the big calendar. And then over here is, again, what I got going on now. So you can see for me, just like you guys, I'm dialing every morning. Then you can see down here in pink is React. I react every afternoon. And then you can see I got other things like when I'm driving in my car to California. Again, for me, it's really visual and I can look at what is going on. And so I just love that calendar. It's just a great way for me to set my week up to make sure that I'm really focused on what it is I have to get done in order to be my best, not just for my own sanity, but also for those around me who are counting on me to do the things that I say I'm going to do when I'm going to do them.
Well, I think it goes back to the webinar we did about decluttering. I don't remember what the title is, but it was about decluttering your mind. And when you can take, I think Roberta, that was kind of, it reminded me when you were talking about the dog food. It's like sometimes there's just peace in knowing I've got it written down, so I don't need to keep worrying about, am I going to remember to get dog food? Because it's written down.
Mhm.
Well, and I would say this, right? Those of you know on the to-do list, right? So on the to-do list, you've got a the top 5, right? It's got a little bracket around it, and it says there, my by noon priorities. And so for me personally, I use that for my non-negotiable things that I want to get done that day. And they're typically my personal things. And then below that, I have my business things. So today I had 3 things I had to do. One was my Facebook post for this. I crossed that off, and I use my highlighter. So I use my little green highlighter. And then I had to call Jim at the car dealership where I'm getting my car repaired, and it's costing way too much money, my kid's car. And then I'm getting an Airbnb for when I go to the summer away. And so this is the people who want me to call them to negotiate my Airbnb deal, because most of you know I'm cheap. And so of course I'm not going to pay them what they're asking for the Airbnb. I'm going to ask them if I rent it for 2 months, if they're going to give me a deal. And they told me I should call them. So that's on there. And then once I get it done, I'll cross it off with my highlighter. I'm using green right now for money. But you would also notice that I've got 3 other highlighters that I have going. Blue is just kind of boring. I don't really like using it because it's so dark, but I use that for the things of, I've got a comma insurance agency, a lot of you all know. And so I use that to my comma guy for my to-do list with him. If any of you guys have questions on comma insurance, reach out to me. And then I've got pink, which is kind of like my red, like, you know, that's for reacting. And then orange is for my fun stuff with my family. So that's the behind the scenes life of Todd and my to-do list. Roberta, you said you had 72 people on your to-do list. So how did you come up with that list, and how are you keeping track of all that?
You mean writing them down?
So that's what you did. You wrote down all 72 people you're going to call.
I called. Yes.
Oh, got
Yes.
it. Done. Past 10.
Start the night before thinking about, and like I said, I really could not get in a rhythm. And so I started calling family, and you'd be surprised how many family I have. I can knock off 30 people there with my nieces and nephews, and everybody works. And I ask them, hey, if I drop you a business card in the mail, will you take it to work and put it in the lunchroom? And then I work through realtors, usually 10 or 15 realtors that I'm, really trying to keep track of. I call a few banks for their turndowns, and I call attorneys for divorces. So I just keep calling.
That is
and
so
you'd be
awesome.
surprised. They may say, oh, you know what? I have somebody coming in at 3:00. I'll call you. Oh, score! I can go have ice cream.
I love that. I love that. All right. So I'm going to ask you one more question on that. What's your script for that? Because when you call family, people, I think more people, especially new people in the business, are not taking advantage of and calling their families for their referrals and connections. So what's that? Do you have a quick script for that you could share with the crew?
Really, it helped me get back focused with realtors, because I'll call, let's say I'm calling Deborah. Hey, Deborah, how's Joey? Your son Joey, how's he doing? And I just make it as personable as possible. What'd you guys do over the weekend? Oh, if I knew you were cleaning house and doing laundry, I would have brought you my laundry. I just keep it going, keep it personal. But that helps me then get all of maybe the giggles out and gets me focused. So when I call the realtors, I can make it personal to them. There's no real script. Everybody's different. I might call my brother who has no wife, no children. So I just talk about what's going on in his life. And don't forget, take my card with you. My business card,
I love that. It just shows, Roberta, I don't know you, personally, but I can just tell how big your heart is and your motive, and how intentional you are with using the planner for the relationships and making sure that you are touching base. And it sounds like this is a great system that works for you so that no one gets left behind. Because clearly you care a lot about your agent partners or family members or your database, and that I can just feel it just by you talking. So thank you for being the above average loan officer and the winner that you are. And hopefully more families in your area are connecting with, people like you, because we need it.
Thank you. But the most important thing I hoped, really, why I said, yes, I would do this. I wanted loan officers to know I really saw my business go down a little bit. And it was because I stopped asking for the business. I stopped saying, don't forget to hand out my card if you know anybody who could use a loan. I hope you'll refer me. I stopped asking for referrals, and I think they stopped referring me. So that was something I wanted to share.
Isn't that funny that basic and fundamental people will do what you tell them to do if you just tell them to do it. And so, Roberta, I don't know if you can see the comments, but Rich Parsons said, love it, Roberta. Good reminder to stay in touch with bank LOs. Also said how you're awesome. And Cynthia said, Roberta, you are so caring and genuine. So your impact is felt today. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Roberta. So before we let you get back to work, anything else that you want to make sure that you share while you're on this call with Deborah and I and everyone else?
Just that I love Deborah. I'm glad that she's on here. But no, I think I shared everything I wanted to. And I hope that other loan officers, realtors on this call will agree to come on, be brave and be the presenter with you, because I feel we can all learn from each other. That's why your group, this Monday call, is so important to me, because I feel like we're a family.
I love that. I love that. All right. So real quick before we go, I got a great question from Corey about the keep it simple. So first off, I want to just, before I jump in on that, Roberta, you're a rock star. So thank you for volunteering. Because I've talked for years about, hey, who wants to volunteer? And believe it or not, no one's ever volunteered before. I normally have to call people and twist their arms. So thank you. If anyone else here is comfortable, I would love you to volunteer. Just shoot me an email, Todd@winbynoon. I would love just, again, have a conversation. You notice I'm not picking on Roberta. I'm not, looking to make her feel anything other than figure out what she's doing. That's her secret sauce. And I want to figure that out for you. And I know that what she just shared is going to help a lot of you. So anyone else who's willing to come on anytime on this call, we would absolutely love to have you on here. And now I'm going to share real quick assuming that my screen's not going to be black again, I'm going to share real quick the keep, improve, start, stop form that I mentioned before. And then I'm going to run through that. And then I'm going to get us off here in time for you to all go have a fabulous day. So let's see if this shares. Can you guys see my screen again, or is it not sharing?
This Todd Booksby has started screen sharing, and
it's just so slow. All right, so I'm gonna start walking you through this page again, but while we wait for it to show up. And so if you look on the right page here, there's keep, which says what worked for me in the last month, improve, what areas do I need to work on, start, what activities, projects, or habits do I need to begin doing, and stop, what didn't work and what is not worth continuing. So again, you're not going to know this stuff if you don't actually peel off and spend a few minutes, right? 3 to 5 minutes thinking about what happened last month. Now, it's really easy when you see your numbers next to you on the left. So if you set a goal where my goal last month was to have, 20 applications and you only got 15, right? Then there's a 5 application gap. If you set a goal, that's a results gap, right? And so then I would say, well, what caused that? And I'd be looking at my activities and say, okay, well, I was supposed to call 100 people last month and I only called 80. Well, gosh, right there would tell me that my gap was in my activities, right? You control your activities. You can choose how many people you call. And you just heard the masterclass from Roberta that she's like, well, I call bank loan officers. I call my family. Like, she's not wondering who to call. She's not overthinking it. She's calling people that she knows who may be in a position to send her business. And so really it's just thinking about what did I do last month that worked really well? Like, I crushed it on my phone, my calls, keep calling people. Hey, I did a great job on my week ahead action plan. And I did a great job of planning who I was going to call. I did a great job of asking for referrals, right? So, your start might be to ask for referrals like Roberta did. Your start may be, I'm going to call bank loan officers. And so the start for me normally are things that I heard someone else talk about that I'm like, oh, Todd, you're such an idiot. Why weren't you doing that all along? Right? Those are those things that we heard in conversation. So you know me, I write those in the idea list in the front of my planner. That's my brain dump, right? To have mine like water. So as I hear ideas, then I write that in my idea list. And then eventually they make it from my idea list into my action plan. And they become either a project or something I start doing, right? A habit. Improve, right? Improve is one you've heard keep, start, stop a lot, but I like the improve piece because improve is something I'm already doing that I want to get better at, right? So again, maybe you're already asking for referrals and you want to get better at it. And then you're going to go back and listen to the recording of this and use Roberta's scripts that she used for, hey, don't forget to hand out my card when you see someone who may need a mortgage, right? So that's just an area to improve. And then stop. That's the hardest one, but probably the most important most often is what did I do that really cost me time, right? And maybe you're doing the Wordle now and you're spending an hour on the Wordle in the morning instead of actually jumping in and doing, your meditation that you should be doing. Or maybe you are, spending a lot of time scrolling through TikTok to learn about the latest dance trends when instead you should be actually starting to do a TikTok video like Deborah Byrd tells you should be doing, right? So those are just kinds of things. But I think from this perspective, it's just a good reminder. And we put at the end of the month, you could do one every sneaking week if you wanted to. But I think if you do it at least on a monthly basis, when you've taken the time to review how you're doing, right? We're already 2 months into the year, right? 1/6 our year is over. It's like 13%. And it's kind of scary to think about, but it's not too late to still keep yourself on track to hit your goals. And the risk is that you don't look at your numbers, you don't look at your business and your life. And then you get to the next quarter and you realize, gosh, I really wish I would have made these changes earlier. So I hope that helps. Corey, any thoughts on that, Deborah?
I'm immediately thinking in ways of if I had to look at improving, that's probably the hardest one for me too. What could we improve upon? I'm gonna have to think about that. I would say that's everyone's homework today. If we're gonna take action, maybe by the next call, we all share maybe one of our KISS,
All right, that's what it's gonna be about. Next week's call is about the keep, improve, start, stop. So if anyone's willing to come on here with Deborah and I talk about yours, that would be great. But in the meantime, Deborah and I will both commit to do ours. And we will discuss through that. And you know me, I run it through a few different filters, right? So I run my personal life, right? Because to me, it's all about who I am as a human and I want to be better, right? My goal is, as my planner says in bright green today, BWC, be world class.
I was going to say BWC.
Right. And so that's progress, not perfection, right? And so every day is a new day to make a change and not worry about what I didn't do yesterday. And then I also run it through obviously my win by noon filter, because win by noon is, my big focus. What can I do better there? And then I divide that up between the planner and the group coaching and these webinars. And then I run my team. And so I also run it through my team's filter. What can I be doing better to lead my team to help others? And so I hope that is beneficial to you. I already sort of gave you the last word, Roberta, before I switched gears and went back into the keep, improve, start, stop. So anything else that you thought of that you would like to add?
Nope. Thanks.
All right. So how about you, Deborah? Why don't you close out your thoughts, and then I will give my last thoughts and send everyone on their way to work.
My taking action is going to be, I'm going to immediately ask our clients in what ways could we improve our services to better, provide for them. And then I'm also going to ask my kids in what way could I improve as their mom, which could be embarrassing them at school or whatever. But I think asking for the feedback instead of assuming is going to be my big takeaway from today and making sure I execute for March.
I love that. And what I would say is this, right? You're here, you've watched this either live or in person. So if you're watching this in YouTube, I would love you to subscribe and hit like. Adam says if we can get like 10 more subscribers, something special happens. I don't know what that is, but whatever it is, Adam wants me to get more subscribers, but certainly that'll help the algorithm. But what I would say is, here are my key takeaways from my good friend, Roberta Pulse, who I'm super grateful that she showed up. Number one is she talked about a couple of standards that she has. She has a standard where she will not take an appointment before 11 a.m. So my script for that, is I've got to